The Walking Dead Dead City Episode 3 saw Maggie and Negan, along with our new group of survivors, hatch a plan to get revenge at the Croat and rescue Hershal in the process. We also got to see what the rule of the Croat is really like through the eyes of Perlie Armstrong, and Ginny make her way into New York, accompanied by some flashbacks of a cowboy hat wearing Negan. This episode continued moving the chess pieces across the board and setting us up for what looks like a very action-packed next episode. This episode also gave us some answers in regards to previous theories and a moment between Maggie and Negan that stands out as my personal favorite scene of the two of them so far. So let's dive right into the breakdown of Dead City Episode 3, People Are a Resource. So we got another CGI deer in this episode, and if this shows anything, it shows us that this series has an increased budget, because it certainly looks better than this. We also got a few references to the actual series in this episode. Probably the biggest ones are the photo of Hershal and Maggie, the watch, and of course the drawing of Glenn. So previous theory answered, at least kinda correctly. I said that Maggie was gonna have Hershal Jr.'s drawing in here along with a bunch of other important stuff, so I'll give myself half credit on that theory being right. There was also a moment where Negan talks about Lucille, his first wife, to Ginny. Speaking of Negan's wives, we got the answer as to what happened to Annie and his son, whose name is Joshua. So some bad things happened between Annie and some raiders, so Negan sent her and Joshua away, promising that he would be right behind them, but ultimately never followed them. Kinda if you love them, let them go situation. I'm not totally sure how I feel about this. There's no guarantee that they'd be safer somewhere else, so it's really a big gamble. I'm kind of conflicted about this being the reason that she's not around. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with my theory that the Croat killed her being wrong, okay? I was just expecting something a little different. We continue to hear more exposition and learn more details about New York City. This time the subway tunnels are flooded with walkers, which of course means that they're gonna go down there at some point. But they keep adding on these small world-building moments that really flesh out the city and make it feel like it's been like this for a very long time. I really like this aspect of the world building that they're doing and hope that it's more or less the same when Daryl's in France, and of course whenever we get to see Rick and Michonne around the CRM. Like I said, we got a scene between Negan and Maggie that stands as my favorite scene of the series so far. Negan goes to kind of comfort Maggie when she talks about how everything in this tin box is what remains of those she loves. So Negan tells her the story of what happened to Annie, and at the end Maggie even cracks a joke. This was actually a pretty nice moment between these two, a nice heart-to-heart that kind of makes them see each other as equals in a way. This is by far the most that I've liked Maggie in a very long time, and it was a great, sweet moment that these two shared. Almost a little too sweet. We also got to see more of the world from Perlie Armstrong's point of view and seeing what life under the rule of the Croat is really like. He says that he was a scientist who specialized in alternate energy, so he uses the corpse of the walkers as some kind of drug for everybody, I guess. That's pretty messed up, but also kinda cool. It makes him stand out as a character in this universe. During this whole portion of the episode, Perlie doesn't speak at all until the Croat reads his brother's letter to him, and that's what breaks Armstrong. He seems very calm and composed in the face of danger, but the letter from his brother is what gets him to talk and ultimately reveal to the Croat that Negan is in the city. So I'm sure that's gonna have huge repercussions in the upcoming episodes. We learn that Tommaso was the only person who escaped from the Croat's jail, so he really takes the lead on the plan to get into the arena, but right before Armstrong has to go against the walkers, the Croat and his people are chanting something that sounds an awful lot like Tommaso. This isn't the first time we've heard this either, because one of the Barazzi who killed that old witch kept on muttering Tommaso, so maybe the Croat has turned his name into a kind of chant, so that way they're reminded of the one person who escaped and they're vowing that nobody else will ever escape. Could be something like that, or they could just be saying something else entirely, but why name your character Tommaso if it sounds so similar to something that they chant? This episode focused very heavily on the character of Ginny, showing us flashbacks of her and Negan with a cowboy hat, and ultimately building up their relationship and why it's so important to her, but I still have a lot of different questions. Namely, how Ginny is going to factor into the overall storyline. As of right now, I'm having a hard time figuring out how she's important to the story of Dead City. We have Maggie and Negan still going over their issues while trying to rescue her son by the hands of a man who Negan has history with, and also a man who went into the city to arrest Negan. And then we have Ginny, his sorta, kinda, pseudo-daughter. Listen, I know that man taking care of child that's not his own is a really big subgenre right now, but if Ginny's role just ends up being a scared child that wants a father figure in Negan, I'm gonna be really disappointed. Right now, if I were to give some kind of theory, I'd say that she's here to make him realize that he needs to find his family again and take care of them. I'm not sure how he'll come to this conclusion, but that's really the only way I can see Ginny impacting the overall story. That, or hang on, I might be onto something here. Maybe Ginny is ultimately gonna die during the rescue of Hershal, so Maggie will see that she dragged Negan on this journey to rescue her son while having his pseudo-daughter die in the process, and that would open up a whole new can of worms for a season 2. Maybe Maggie will feel bad that she got Ginny killed, or maybe she'll just be like, now we're even. What supports this theory is at the end of the episode, she finds Ginny's dinosaur and thinks about burning it instead of telling Negan. She knows that this is Ginny's dinosaur, but she doesn't want to distract Negan from her ultimate objective, getting her son back. So Maggie would rather not tell Negan about Ginny possibly being in the city or even dead, so that way he won't be distracted from the goal. Maggie wants to continue on regardless of Ginny, because her ultimate plan and goal over this whole journey is to trade Negan for her son. Wow, a little intense there. Negan also killed Luther because he was threatening to make him and Maggie leave, so he was looking out for Maggie in that moment, which is almost the exact opposite of what Maggie was doing at that time. I don't think it's a coincidence that Negan was doing everything in his power to keep Maggie's mission afloat, at the same time she was doing everything she could to keep the mission going, but under completely different circumstances. I truly think that this scene was a hint at what's to come between these characters, and I don't think that their past will ever truly be forgotten. But that's just my theory. Let me know yours down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more Walking Dead breakdown videos like this. If you do, then I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.